welcome back to my shop. This week I have this piece of 10" by almost 3" spalted oak. I bought it from Steve Crawford in Ivor, Virginia last year sometime at the end of the summer, and finally getting around to turning it. It's nice and dry, so it should be a complete project start to finish. I don't have to wait for the drying process or anything like that, which I've been doing a lot of lately. I've been doing a lot of wet turning and a lot of microwaving and drying. I have a couple of bowls sitting over there which I turned from some wet sycamore and also some poplar which I just recently got for free from the side of the road. So I've got all kinds of things on the go, but this is today's project, so stick around and let's get this thing turned. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just face this piece of wood off and start taking the corner off. What I think I want to do is bowl with an OG shape on the underside. So let's see. I think that the pattern itself, the grain in the wood, is going to be pretty nice, I think. So let's see. Okay, so at this point I've got it pretty much trued up, so I'm going to turn the speed up a little bit and get some of this meat taken away. I gotta say that this, pretty sure this is a spalted piece of oak that I got from Steve Crawford, and it is rock hard, bone dry and rock hard. Not the easiest turn at all, actually. So I'm just trying to get it roughed down to where I need it. Got a lot of tear out right now, but we'll eventually get that taken care of. Just hit my thumb on the tool rest and now it's bleeding. Okay. Bottom side, and then I'm going to get some sanding sealer on this and make my fine cuts and then sanding. Okay, so I've got my basic bowl shape, and I've got a bit of a foot and my mortise for my chuck to grab the bowl when I turn it around. So what I'm going to do now is put some sanding sealer on it and get some really light cuts to get rid of a little bit of the tear out, and then we'll get it sanded down to 1500 grit. I'm going to put a little bit of texture in the middle here and a couple of score lines, and that will be the underside basically done. So this should bring out some of the colour too. So we'll see what this looks like. Now what I may end up doing is putting a little bit of epoxy in a couple of spots here, a couple of bug holes. Right, so what I've done now is I've put a couple of coats of sanding sealer to stiffen up the grains, and I'm going to get my scraper, my round nose scraper, and just take some really light cuts just to remove any tear out. There is a little bit of end grain tear out, which is to be expected. So let's get that done. Okay, I think I'm at a point now where I'm just going to get this sanded. I'm just going to finish off the bottom with my skew, because it's pretty much flat surfaces. Okay, so you've seen me do this before on previous videos. I've got a bug hole right here that I'm going to fill with some epoxy with coffee granules. Now this is 5-minute 2-part epoxy, and it obviously it cures quickly and does a fantastic job. So I'm just going to do that now. Like, I've already mixed it up. If you want to check the link out, I'll put a link up here somewhere, up there somewhere. That will show you a previous video that I did, and it shows you the process that I use when mixing epoxy. The same procedure that everyone else uses. It's quite simple, really. So there's that hole there. There's a tiny wee hole there too. I would say that's probably ambrosia beetle. A little hole there too. Time for a quick cup of tea. Come back down and that will be set, and then I can just lightly turn that away. Okay, so now I want to remove the excess epoxy now that it's hardened. I want to take really light cuts because I don't really want to shape this at all anymore. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the excess epoxy until I'm satisfied with that, and then I'm going to wet sand this whole thing with oil all the way down to 1500 grit. I'm going to put some texture in the middle, but no burn lines or anything, so I'm not concerned about any other issues. Right, so now I'm going to do some sanding. I'm going to sand this with oil the whole way, and I'm going to start with 100 grit and work my way through the grits to 1500. I'll come back to you when it's all sanded down and looking nice, and then we'll get this thing turned around. Okay, I think what I'll do is I'll show you as I apply some oil, just out of interest, because I'm curious to see what the oil does to the colour. It's going to show up my imperfections and the things that I have to fix, and it will bring out some of the luster of the wood, and as I sand through the grits it will become more so. And I'll just keep applying oil as I sand. That is a beautiful piece of wood. I actually thought it was spalted oak, but I found out, I spoke to Steve Crawford the other night on Facebook, and it is spalted Magnolia. So I think it's going to look quite spectacular when I get it on. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so I'm going to get this sanded down. I'll get back to you when it's done. Okay, so the outside of the bowl now is sanded down to 1500 grit. I've applied linseed oil, boiled linseed oil to it, which is really bringing out some beautiful color in this bowl. So what I'm going to do, I decided against putting any texture here because I don't think it really requires any embellishment because of the color and the figure that's in this piece already. It's got some absolutely beautiful figure in it, just stunning. I'm looking forward now to getting this piece finished and get the inside turned. So for a finish, what I'm going to use is shellac. I'm going to put a shellac finish on this, and then I'm going to cut that afterwards with 00 wire wool. So there's my shellac. I'm just going to put a nice light coat of that on there, and then denib it with wire wool, and then apply some wax. You can actually add, I think I'm going to, a little bit of denatured alcohol in there. Should just make it go on a bit nicer. Now it will tend to streak, I find, which is, I'll take the streaks off with the wire wool. I'm going to give that a few coats, let that dry, and then we'll come back to you. Okay, so I made a little bit of a mistake, as I have done in the past, and I still haven't made the tool to make sure I don't do this again. I made my mortise just a little bit too small, so I've just sharpened up my skew chisel, and I'm going to increase the size of my mortise just a little bit. And as you can see, I've now got the piece of wood on my brand new lathe, my King Canada lathe. So this is the first time I've used this, so I'm going to bring my speed up a little bit. And see if I can get a fine cut so I don't require too much sanding. that's pretty much all it actually needs. I'm going to give that a quick sand and then get it turned around. Okay, I'm just going to use my scraper just to get this surface trued up. Now it's at this point that I really wish I had a bowl saver or a coring system of some sort. There is a hole in the middle from my wormwood screw, but it's only about 1.25 inches deep. Now if I had a coring system, I could make a second bowl out of this. Now I've seen Al Furtado do something with a parting tool, but I just don't think that I'm going to have much success with that. I think that it's going to be a difficult angle to get a decent bowl out. It's one of those things, you know. I wish I had a coring system. It's on the list for sure. So I think I'm just going to start going at this with my bowl gouge, and I think we're going to get a beautiful bowl out of this piece of wood, and I'm going to be satisfied with that. Okay, so it's at this point that I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm looking at about 1/4 inch. What I need to do now is to get some sanding sealer on this and get my final cuts. Again, a little bit of tear out, not a whole lot, just a little bit. With spalting, you get a little bit of punkiness to it usually, and it's not too bad. It's pretty hard, but there is just a little bit of tear out. So I'm going to bring this in here, and I'm going to put a little bit of sanding sealer on, let this dry, and get some final cuts. Okay, I'll let that dry for a little while and then finish it up, and then we'll get it sanded down to the same as the outside. Okay, so now I've let this dry, and what I'm going to do now is just give it a real light scrape, just to give it a nice clean finish, and then I'm going to get this sanded down from 100 grit all the way down to 1500 grit, and we'll get a sanding sealer. Actually, I think I used a shellac finish on the outside, right? Shellac, and then wax it, and then we'll be finished. So again, I always use my face shield when I'm turning. You never know when you could get a catch, and this could come flying off. Now, you guys are in the path, I'm not. So if it comes off, you'll feel it, but I won't. Okay, so we'll get some really light cuts in here, some fine shavings, just to get this nice finish. Now I'm going to go in and get this thing sanded down. I'm not going to bore you with that. We'll get this thing sanded down, and we'll get back to you with the finished product. And there it is, finished, a spalted Magnolia bowl. It's 10 inches by approximately 3 inches. The wood came from Crawford Studios in Ivor, Virginia. He has a fantastic selection of woods. Not too often does he come out with bowl blanks like this, but he does have a fantastic selection of wood. So I'm going to leave some photographs at the end of the video for you guys to check out. I hope you like this video, and please don't forget to subscribe. Thanks, and take care.